Hello Internet, this is Sophia. Paul and Morgan are at it again. This time they are out with a video titled, "Should Christians Call Each Other Out on Modesty, Relationships, Politics?" Seems harmless enough, except that, well, it isn't. Also, from its title, it might seem like the issue is of internal concern within the Christian community, and that an atheist like me has no business sticking my nose into this. But as I will explain through the course of this video, that isn't really true either.
It's not my place to say anything. Well, actually, it might be your place. The Lord might have put you in that person's life and built up that relationship so that you could be that person to lovingly confront them.
If not me, who? If not now, when?
Very true. Holding people accountable is sometimes a necessary thing to do, not just among Christians, but even in society as a whole. This is something that even atheists such as myself can appreciate. I mean, what am I doing right now, for f***'s sake? I am making a response video. And what is a response video other than one content creator's effort to hold another content creator accountable? But while I don't disagree that people ought to hold one another accountable, it is important to make sure that when doing so, you make sure of a number of things, most central among them being that you aren't delivering a toxic message in doing so, that the standard that you are holding them accountable to is indeed a healthy standard to be held accountable to. That is and always has been where I start having a problem with Paul and Morgan. This latest video of theirs will not be an exception by any means.
So let's look at the Bible and see, is there a place to challenge brothers and sisters in Christ? Should we be doing it? How should we do it? And then let's dive into these specific issues. We're going there.
No problem. I've got a Bible handy right over here. I mean, right over here. Granted, I don't believe everything in here, but hey, I can follow along. I'll see what the you have to say.
Galatians 6:1. Brothers, if anyone is caught in any transgression, you who are spiritual, the body of Christ who are walking with the Lord, should restore him in a spirit of gentleness. Keep watch on yourself, lest you too be tempted.
Hold someone accountable to their actions and point out other perspectives. Hey, when you wear this is what happens to other people.
So, you believe that a person ought to consider how their clothing choices affect others, and that there needs to be a way to lovingly hold them accountable to dress according to such considerations? I totally agree with you. So, the first thing you have to do is determine which side of the mask is the upside. Morgan is not referring to the wearing of COVID masks. And who the are you? I am the Floating Information Management Operations Control Head, or FIMOCH, at your service, ma'am. And what's this thing about her not referring to the wearing of COVID masks? She specifically said that it is important to hold people accountable to dress in ways that are considerate of other people. What clothing choice could be more inconsiderate than one that risks transmitting a disease that could either kill someone or f*** them up for life? She is referring to modesty culture. Are you serious?
Let's focus now on just a few issues like modesty. Modesty in the church setting.
Okay, thank you, Fimosh.
You are welcome.
Okay, so now that that's been clarified, forget what I said about agreeing with Paul and Morgan. Quite the opposite is true. The message that they are pushing is extremely toxic. Dressing in a way that risks giving someone a deadly disease is indeed inconsiderate. One can't negate the risk of contracting a deadly disease such as COVID-19 by practicing a rudimentary adult discipline such as self-control. On the other hand, any problems that a woman dressing immodestly can have on a person who is attracted to women can indeed be mitigated by the practice of self-control. But religious cults such as the Christaliban, which is the kind of people that Paul and Morgan are, aren't really that big on teaching heterosexual men the skills of self-control. Instead, they shield them from having to learn such skills by having women bend further and further backward to avoid presenting any temptation, and it doesn't work, because the more they hide, the more the heterosexual men are tempted by whatever the remains. Not only that, these cults tend to actively hinder men from learning to just get a grip on themselves by labeling certain practices inherent to the skill, such as masturbation, as sinful. And those men who don't learn any healthy way to deal with their pent-up sexual energy are unleashed on a society that includes not only Christians, but includes people of all religions and even people with no religion at all. But even if the only ones harmed by these teachings were Christian, and not just Christian, but members of your Christaliban cults, that still would not change the fact that instilling these teachings in people is a form of abuse. And for that reason, if no other, I would still consider it my business to oppose that bullshit. Because my opposition to mental and emotional abuse would be shallow as if I somehow considered it okay as long as it stays within your Christaliban cult. No to that.
I was living in active sin with this guy.
Living in sin? Flying spaghetti monster, I hate these euphemisms. Can't you say it? Having sex.
We don't have great views on sex.
No, Morgan, I did not say spell it. I said say it. Seriously, what is so scary about sex that you feel that even the word needs to be spelled out? I'll tell you what it is. It's that Christaliban churches are so closed to the idea of actual, informative, fact-based discussions about sex that even talking about it has to be done in hushed terms.
And my two friends who were walking with the Lord, when I told them that I was no longer a virgin and that I was living in active sin with this guy, they just kind of like giggled and were like, wait, what? Like, oh my goodness, like, I guess if that's like, if you feel like that's okay, and okay. And then I wish that my Christian friends would have been like, what are you thinking?
Morgan, I do not know whether the regret that you feel is because you made a decision that truly did not match what was healthiest for you, or whether it is because since that time you have yourself fallen for the same Christaliban guilt that you now advocate pushing on others. But whichever of the two may be the case, the only way that having a talk with someone will help them see what is truly healthy for them is to approach that discussion from a place of honesty and openness. But what I see you pushing for here is having a talk triggered by nothing other than the fact that someone is having sex or planning to, and with a premature, foregone conclusion that what you wish you had done is automatically going to be the healthiest way for someone else. So basically, the talk that you recommend having with someone isn't to tell them to respect their own comfort levels about sex and or those of their partner. It isn't about telling them what precautions they might want to be taking while having sex. And I'm guessing that the only mention that there will be about possible unexpected consequences of sex will be for the purpose of blowing them the out of proportion, not to discuss how to reduce the risk, but using those risks as a prop with which to scare people. Now, don't get me wrong. Anyone, man or woman, who doesn't want to be having sex shouldn't be having sex. And I'll even add that nobody should be having sex if they aren't mature enough to understand what they're getting themselves into. But telling people that they have an obligation to some invisible sky daddy to refuse, even if they do want to have sex, that is totally up. And this message, which, by the way, does tend to get delivered much more strongly to women than to men, has tons of up ramifications. It has a strong role to play in the cycle of rape and also up society in a number of other ways too. And one thing for sure, if you're someone who can't even say the word sex, but has to spell it out, then you are not ready to be having the talk with anyone unless you're on the learning end of that talk. Because when you try to push your ideas about sex, when you don't even have the maturity to say the word out, you are doing harm. You are doing something that can seriously up the life of someone who is vulnerable enough to take your bullshit seriously. So even if said bullshit stayed within the confines of your Christaliban cults, which again, it never does, I would still have to oppose it.
All right, so the third one, and potentially the most controversial, is do we want to have these hard conversations about politics?
Okay, let's talk politics. And here I have a dog in the fight more than with anything else, because the laws and policies that you try to get passed don't just affect Christians in those jurisdictions. They affect everyone in those jurisdictions, and sometimes even people beyond the border of those jurisdictions. So let's get on with it. Let's see what the you have to say.
It's like, oh, politics, like it becomes such like a touchy thing that you want to be so walk on eggshells around when it's like, this is just, it's another part of life, you know?
Yeah.
Don't worry, Paul. I can assure you, I'm not going to around on eggshells about politics. And yes, you are spot on about one thing. It really is an integral part of life. How things go in politics can have a profound effect on the quality of lives of millions of people, not to mention those for whom it is a matter of life and death. So tell me, Paul, whose lives are you trying to save and or make better through your effect on politics?
It's so scary, and you just have to like tiptoe.
Again, Morgan, as I already assured your hubby Paul, I'm not going to around on tiptoes. I'll be as blunt as I need to be, because frankly, way too many people's futures depend on how things go in politics. So get on with it already, you two. Whose lives are you two going to save and or improve through your involvement in politics?
How to have conversations with people who are in our church, who are in our work, who are in our day-to-day life, specifically people that are walking with the Lord or claiming to be walking with the Lord.
But of course, not all your co-workers or fellow students or whatnot are Christians or claim to be Christians. And that's the thing. You may have caught yourself and qualified that you are talking specifically about Christians, but only after you had gone on talking about groups of people who are bound to include non-Christians as well. And this isn't just a simple linguistic error. When you get all carried the away pushing your ideas on fellow Christians, people like you always get so carried away that you end up pushing these ideas on your society as a whole. And don't you try to gaslight me by saying otherwise. I spent most of my life in East Tennessee. I know too well how this goes down. And in this video, I've made a point of not only explaining why the ideas that you push are toxic, but also why I, as an atheist, should give a about what you call out your fellow Christians for. And I think that I've made it clear that I have a good reason to care. But if I had no other reason to care what ideas you push within the Christian community, this would have been enough.
The church has lost her backbone. Yeah, but the church has lost her backbone.
Oh, hi there, Hannah. So the church has lost its backbone, you say? Maybe that's why your buddies Paul and Morgan are taking so long to get to the point of who they are going to make things better for through their involvement in politics.
Explain to me how you're justifying these things, how you're justifying, abortion.
What the is that it? The ones who you plan to save are people who haven't even been born yet? With the kind of urgency you were giving this, a sensible person who doesn't know you would think that you're fighting to assure universal health care, or some serious effort to fight homelessness, or something like that. But no, none of that. Instead, you're fighting to protect unborn fetuses and even unborn blastulas, and doing so at the expense of the very bodily autonomy of people who are already born that have uteruses. Granted, I myself am not in the least bit surprised by this sudden reveal, but only because I am sufficiently familiar with y'all to not expect any better from you. But anyways, you are defending those who are not yet born at the expense of those who are already born. And why? Because of the idea of life being sacred from the point of conception. Well, that may be what your religion teaches, but since you're bringing this up in the discussion of politics, you're talking about imposing that belief of yours on people who don't share your beliefs, because that is exactly what you are doing when you try to push for laws that make abortion less accessible, not just to people who share your views, but to everyone. And there are lots of people who don't buy the idea that a fetus or even a blastula is somehow a person quite yet. If you want to impose that on people who don't share your beliefs, you need to do a lot more to justify that that is the actual case than merely appealing to the religious biases of those who agree with you. and every supposedly rational argument that has been brought forth to justify the idea that one starts being an actual person at conception has failed miserably. So in short, yes, people should hold one another accountable when they do things that are just wrong. But you are talking about calling people out as having done things wrong when really what they are doing is harmless, possibly even healthy. And for that, I felt that I needed to make this video calling you out. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please hit the thumbs up button and leave your comment in the comments area below. Make sure that you are subscribed to this channel and that the bell icon is active so that you will be more likely to receive notifications when I add new videos to this channel in the future. Share this video with your friends and everyone else, both on social media and by whatever other means. And until next time, see ya!